everyone, and welcome to Not Just Numbers, Honest Conversations with a Financial Advisor and Lawyer. I am Madison Demora, and I am here with Mike Gary. Mike is a financial advisor and a CFP and the founder and the CEO of Yardley Wealth Management. He is also an estate planning lawyer, and his law firm is Yardley Estate Planning. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Maddie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing today?
Great.
All right. So today we're going to discuss the journey of entrepreneurship. We've interviewed many business owners in the past here on Not Just Numbers. So today we're going to discuss starting your own business.
Maddie, I think it's a great idea. Thanks for
Yeah,
coming up with the topic.
of course. All right. So let's start with what are the fundamental steps someone should take when considering to start their own business?
Yeah, so you need to figure out if whatever your idea or passion is can be a legitimate business. And by legitimate, I just mean can it be profitable and be worth like your time and money? And that's hard, right? Because there's all kinds of people who like have a talent, but then translating that talent into a business doesn't always work. Like, so I'm a financial advisor, and one of the things about that is, for the most part, for most of history, financial advisors have had to find their own clients to have a job. And that's hard. It's easier to keep on top of, for me, it's easier to keep on top of like the tax and investment changes and the estate planning, and all that. That finding clients was the harder path for me. But even anything else, you talk to somebody like, oh, that lady makes great cheesecakes. You know, she should do that for a living. Well, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
it's one thing to make a great product, but can you make that great product at a scale in a way that's profitable for you and is worth your time and money? That's a whole other thing. Um, so I think the first thing you need to do is figure out if what you think you can do could actually work.
Yeah. It's easy, people have the idea of starting a business and,
Hmm.
you could be super knowledgeable in that, like you said, the ins and outs of cheesecakes, everything about them. But then there's also the business part of it, and that is probably one of the
Right.
most important parts. I mean, you can have the best cheesecake in the world, but
But can you make 500 of them a day?
yeah,
And do you have the facilities, or could you
yeah.
get the facilities to do that?
Is there a
And how
market
much,
for it? Yep.
yeah, will people buy them? How will people know about it?
Yep.
Right? That part is a little bit easier than it may have been 20 or 30 years ago, because you can get some more traction with local people on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. But still, like, look, there's a lot of people in Yardley who have businesses that I love, but like you can't go to 5 businesses a day and use their stuff. And so you need to be able to attract enough people to have enough sales and scale to be able to sell enough or provide whatever services it is at a scale enough for you to make money uh, that's appropriate for you, right? Because you know, say you have your high-powered CPA job and you're making a lot of money, and you say, like, I'm really good at these cheesecakes. Well, if financially you still need to make the the CPA money, well, cheesecakes might not cut it. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do think you need a business plan. You need to be honest with it. And one thing one of my mentors told me is that starting a business is a lot like doing home construction, in that it always costs more than you think, and it always takes more time. So
Absolutely.
just keep that in mind if you're thinking about going out there.
Yep.
Um, yeah, a realistic sense of the business plan is, I think, the first step. Like, what do you really define what it is that you think you'd like to do, right? And how you think it'll be profitable, and then take it from there.
Okay. How important is market research in determining the viability of a business idea, and what are some effective methods for conducting it?
But I think it's really important, right? You have to have some sense of the idea of how successful your enterprise might be. And I think it really depends on the type of business, what kind of research you have to do. Like when we had Sally from Pana in, right? Remember that? She said
Yep.
she and her husband would take turns in the parking lot, see how many cars came in. And they did a lot of other stuff 4 months before they actually went through with um, coming up
Yep.
with a business plan.
Yep.
They did that part first, I think I remember.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's really important. And I think the kind of market research really depends on what you're looking to do. Um, and there's all kinds of sources now available on the internet. You have to make sure you're finding a trustworthy one. But yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly what kind of research you have to do because it would depend on what you're doing. Um, One thing is that where there's a lot of other businesses in the similar businesses in the area, counterintuitively, that often makes sense, right? So there are a lot of hair salons in downtown Yardley, and it's probably busy enough for all of them.
So, what role does creating a business plan play in the startup process, and what key components should be included in a comprehensive plan?
Sure. I mean, it's really the most important thing. It takes it from a dream to reality. So, you need to know like what are your goals and how do you plan to achieve them? Like simple as that. But you need to outline your target market, what products and services are you going to deliver? What's your market strategy and what are your financial projections? Like how much are you going to lose? How much money you have to put up front? What's going to cost? I mean, you need to have a well thought out business plan really before you do anything.
Yeah,
And now
absolutely.
you're going to have to update that and adjust it over
Yep.
time as things change and things happen or don't happen that you expect.
Yep. Going back to Sally again, I remember, if I'm recalling correctly, she said the business plan was one of the hardest things she had to do when starting her business.
Yep. And then she said they exceeded their goals, which
Yeah.
is fantastic. You
Yep.
don't hear that often. I think
Yeah.
more often than not, we hear people are too optimistic with what they expect
Yep.
and are surprised on the downside. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think she was pleasantly surprised, which is
Yeah.
great.
Absolutely. So, how do you identify and reach your target audience or customer base when starting a new business?
Yeah, so I think that's hard. You need to figure out who your customers are going to be or your clients are going to be, whether it's a geographic area or a certain age. You need to research those demographics. Figure out who they could be, right? And then you need to reach them in an effective manner. And that, a lot of times now that's online, or maybe it's, calls, or maybe it's stopping into people. But yeah, you need to figure out who they would be and what's the most effective way. One of the things that's helpful now that so much stuff is online is you can look up and see how effective is it, right? If people send out mailers as a financial advisor, right? What percentage of those come back? It's a low percent, but it does work. Like Ken Fisher is one of the biggest RIAs in the world. And he does a lot of stuff by mail and does a lot of ads, print and digital ads. And so some of those things must be working for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's good to know your target audience.
Yes.
It's very important starting the business.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
vital.
You
Who's
can't
going to buy
just
your
say it's for
product?
everyone, right?
Right. Right.
Okay.
You could say, well, everybody likes cheesecakes, but okay, maybe, but who buys them?
Yeah,
Under what
absolutely.
circumstances are they buying them?
Yep.
Yeah, you have to figure that all out.
Yep. So what are the different types of business structures and how do you choose the right one for your venture?
Sure. So the overwhelming number of people just have like a sole proprietorship, right? So their name's Maddie and they're going to be um, they sell flowers, and so they just go and start selling flowers. I'd say it's probably a good idea to actually have a legal structure apart from just your sole proprietorship, though. And so most businesses beyond that either form an LLC or an S corp. An LLC is a limited liability company. The idea behind not just having stuff in your own name is that if you form an LLC or an S corp, and you put money in that business, um, your liability is limited to the money that you've invested in that entity. And so absent like fraud or your like own malicious conduct, right? We're assuming you're not going to intentionally hurt somebody. But so say you are just in your own name, have a business, and all your suppliers, you pay bills to them in just your own name, and business goes under, then you'd be personally on the hook for those business expenses, that you've incurred. Um, Whereas if you have an LLC or an S corp, some sort of business structure, your debts are you would only be liable for the amount that you have in that LLC. Now, again, if you go and punch somebody, that's different, right? They would be able to sue you for that separately. So I would say for the vast majority of businesses we see, they start as an LLC, and then they may then elect to, when they do their taxes, they could file as a partnership or an S corp generally, and most people would probably file as an S corp because there are certain advantages to doing that once your business is relatively profitable.
Okay. So, what are some effective strategies for securing funding or investment for a startup? How do you decide between bootstrapping, seeking investors, or applying for loans?
Yeah. So it's a good question, Maddie. I think that most people, that's some sort of small business or service, bootstrap. And bootstrap means like they pay for things themselves. Maybe they'll run up their personal credit cards or something to fund the business. But I say overwhelmingly, people will do that. But if you have a business that needs a larger scale to operate, then you might need investors, or some sort of venture funding. And I think it really what you choose really depends on what's needed for the business and what your opportunity is. Like you could have this idea where I have this business opportunity or this idea, but I'm going to need $50 million to make it true. And if you're not connected with startups in like Silicon Valley or New York or something, like, well, that just might have always just be a dream for you. It might not ever come true. Um, but there are in the intermediate phase, there are smaller places, right? So say you want to start a bank or you want to start, I don't know, a gas station, and maybe your requirement then is in the small millions of dollars. Sometimes people will find investors in their local community, or they'll reach out to advisors or other small business facilitators, people who do those kinds of things. So circling back to your question, it really depends on how big of a scale and how much cash you need, and then what are like the realistic chances that you're able to get that.
Okay. All right. What legal and regulatory considerations should entrepreneurs be aware of when starting a business, such as permits, license, and intellectual property rights?
Yeah, they need to know that, right? Like if you're going to start a business, you need to know like if you need to be licensed, if you have a business somewhere, whether it needs permits. Um, yeah, you have to figure that all out. Now, most of that is not that hard to find on your state's website, and then like your county or local community probably has further rules. Like for us, I'm licensed. A million years ago, I passed the Series 65 and became a certified financial planner. And that was like the licensing I needed to be a registered investment advisor. And so we're governed by the Securities and Exchange Commission because we manage more than $100 million for clients. But yeah, if you're a cosmetologist, there's licenses for that, permits for the building. You need to do that as part of your initial market research. What do you need to do? What are your requirements for having that type of business? And
Okay.
it could be tricky. You
Yeah.
might need to find either someone who's gone through it before, like some sort of a mentor or
Yeah.
a lawyer and accountant to help you
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It sounds like some kind of checklist has to be made.
A lot of states will have checklists on, starting a business to see what you'll need. And they're often pretty helpful, like surprisingly helpful. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess, states want to have businesses in their state, right, for the
Yeah.
tax revenue and employment. So yeah.
So, how important is networking and building relationships within your industry or community when launching a new business? And what are some effective ways to do so?
Yeah, I think it can be really important. There are a lot of people in your community, if you're friends or acquainted with them, that might really want to help your business thrive and grow. Whether they would use your service or not, they might be invested in the community and want local people to do well. Sort of like this podcast, right?
Absolutely.
We live here. We want it to be a great place, and so yeah, we want people to do well.
Yeah.
And then, there are other things like there's trade organizations where you could go to where I say, the like as a financial advisor or lawyer, there's all kinds of conferences that I can go to, and those are really helpful for me for a couple of things. Like often there's pretty good educational content, right? So there'll be speakers, and we'll talk about different either like subject matter things or legal requirements. But then there's also like networking in the halls or at lunch with other advisors to see like what challenges they're going through and what they're doing well or poorly. And I certainly have talked to a lot over the years where we've helped each other figure out like, oh yeah, maybe you could be doing this instead and it'll be better. Or oh, you probably shouldn't do that because that might not work or might be harmful. So yeah, I think it's really important to connect with
Absolutely.
other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good to know that you're not alone in the
Yes.
process.
Absolutely. And even looking at our podcast and, the town that we're in, Yardley, I mean, I can't even say how much networking has really helped us, prosper in the podcast, meeting all the business owners around here, following them on Instagram, them following
Mhm.
us, and then people finding us through them. Like it's crazy how much networking could really help you grow your business.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a nice community.
absolutely. So we are joined here today with Julia Gambell. Julia is the owner of Salon Raine here in Yardley. Julia, would you like to explain to our listeners what you do for a living, a little background about yourself?
So I grew up in Yardley, born and raised. I've been here, I guess I'm turning 27 in like 2 months, which is really scary. So, yeah, I've been here my whole entire life. And I was super not a school kid. And I always loved hair and makeup. And my parents just were pushing cosmetology school on me. And I was like, no, I want to be like everybody else and go to college. And then once I was in community college for 2 years, they're like, okay, you ready to go to cosmetology school? Because I was just like failing math, science. I was like, I just cannot do this. And I was like, yes, I am. So I went and I loved it. And then I moved away for a bit to Nashville and then came back during COVID and I started doing hair in my parents' basement for all the people that had to be on Zoom meetings for men's cuts because they needed, to look sharp.
Mm.
So I was doing that. And then at that point, my mom and my dad were like, you need to get out and do your own thing and do your own business. So I kind of just took a leap of faith and opened up a salon suite. And 3 years later, I opened up a salon in my hometown. So I'm
Yeah,
really happy. It's a lot of work, but I'm very, very happy about it.
yeah, absolutely. So
Thanks.
can you tell us about your journey into the world of hairdressing and what inspired you to open your own salon?
So I was somebody, like I said, I was not very much a school kid. I love to be in school and I love to learn, but I feel like it just wasn't the right environment for me. I was a horrible test taker. Math was not my interest. Science was not my interest. Ironically, that's a very important part of the hair industry,
Mhm.
but like
Sure.
that's the kind of math and, science that I like. When I would get home from tennis practice in high school. I was supposed to be doing my homework, but instead I was on YouTube looking up how to do a smoky eye or how to do winged eyeliner,
Yeah.
how to curl your hair. Um, So I got my laptop privileges taken away for that reason. And then at that point, I was just reading magazines still because I was just still not interested in doing anything
Yeah.
involving school. And then I guess I was probably, yeah, I was a senior in high school and I took practical. So I was student teaching at my elementary school. And I was like, maybe I should just give it a shot to go to college. But that entire time that I was in college, I was still doing makeup and hair for prom. And my mom and my dad were like, you need to just go. You need to just go. This is just makes you so much happier. So I did it. And I moved to Philly for a little bit and I went to school and it was it was a completely different world. But I still felt like I was learning a lot and I still felt like it was still school. So the tests were still hard. It was not easy for me, but I was still learning what I wanted to learn. And
Okay.
yeah, so I was, I was very much guided in a really good way by my parents.
Yeah, that's
You
what
know,
it
That sounds
sounds like.
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so
Thanks.
you were doing like stuff in your parents' garage or basement, and then you went out and like got your own salon suite. You didn't even start working for somebody else first.
No, yeah. So I had already had a decent amount of clientele when I was living in Nashville. So I lived from in Nashville from August of 2019 to like technically March because I came home during COVID. So I was really only there for like 6 months and came home and then everyone needed their haircut in the basement. So, and in my garage too. So I was basically just having people, you know, mask on, come in the house and just, I had it going. And then all of a sudden, once salons were open again, I was able to promote myself on Instagram
Hmm.
and be like, hey, listen, if you need anything, let me know. So I was literally just doing hair. I like made a sink in my basement. I made a whole little station. And then it came to the point where I was literally working out of my parents' house from like 10 in the morning to 10 at night. And they're like, okay, you need to like get out and
Hmm.
get your own space. So I kind of just took a leap of faith. And, there were times where I was in the salon suite and I was working from 9 to 12, and then I didn't have a client until 6 p.m. So that from that 12 o'clock hour to the 6 o'clock hour, I was just sitting there doing nothing. But, it was definitely, I think it was worth it, especially during COVID, because, there was really nothing else to do. And I
Right.
didn't want to be sitting around anymore and just being in my parents' basement. But then as time went on, I gained more clientele. And I had a girl post a TikTok about me and it got like 20,000 views. And then the clients started kind of flooding in, which was good.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to ask that. So, like, yeah, like so you had people that you knew, I guess, to start in your parents' house, but then how busy? So the place that the suite that you rented, like how busy were you generally? Was that normal to have a big gap in the day, or were you pretty full? So I hear now
So,
you're really full.
oh yeah,
That
for sure.
that yeah. Yeah.
Like today I took off and I was like, I need a break. I'm office day,
Yeah.
sitting at the desk and just chilling. So yeah, normally I'm really busy and I feel like at that point I was still trying to figure out timing because I couldn't really understand. And I thought for some reason that I needed to work all day, every day. And that's all I wanted to do. Cause I mean, what else was there to do? You couldn't go out, couldn't do anything during COVID. So I was like, I guess I'll just work.
Right.
So I guess I had like, I mean, there were some days where I had gaps, but then during that November, December, January time period, a lot of kids were coming home from college and people were even working from home and doing college from home because of COVID. So at that point I got really busy and then I ended up having to hire an assistant who was a friend and I was like, you need to just come in and like just answer my phone because it was just blowing up and I was booking out like 2 months in advance. And I am very grateful for her and I'm very grateful for the clients that were with me in like that very small suite in the back of where I was before. It was like literally a closet. Then I ended up moving to the front and where Maddie had come and there was like the two chairs with the one sink and it was still great, but it was still small. And it was it was really, really good to start. It was awesome. And I feel like I was just in there, like 12 hours a day sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
I learned a lot about myself and I learned a lot from my clients. And again, like I said, I'm very grateful for the clients that were with me from the beginning because I didn't know how to manage my time. And I
Yeah.
didn't know, how to double book or how to like, I guess I didn't really know how long my clients were coming in for.
Yeah. That was
So,
one of my questions. Yeah. So like, do you have to be, I guess you have to be super organized. I mean, if you're booking 2 months in advance, I mean, you have to know like your schedule in two
oh my,
months in advance, right?
well, my last name's obviously Gambell. My boyfriend calls me Plan Bell because I planned literally everything to the T. Like, it's ridiculous. And I get angry at him sometimes because he calls me that. But like, at the end of the day, you need somebody that's the planner in the relationship.
Oh
So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, so yeah, beginning of the year, I just plan out my schedule just to kind of make sure, what's going on. I always take the week off after Christmas into the new year because that's my busiest time in December. Like, I literally do not leave the salon, obviously, because kids are coming home from college. Everyone wants to get their hair done before the holidays. And then, ironically, like, March is really busy too. So I always, like, I'm working every weekend this upcoming March. And I kind of, after like 3 or 4 years in the industry, I kind of understand the flow of things and like when things start to slow down. So, like, in the summer, I'll work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'd rather work 10 hours those days and have like sporadic times. And then that way, Friday to Monday, I can go to the beach.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Nice.
perfect.
Chill and get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but
See?
I mean, and if there's times when I have a cancellation or if I'm relaxing, I try and take that as like, okay, Julia, like, this is meant for you to relax. This is meant for you
Hmm.
to calm down and just chill and take a breather and not worry about, because when you're on your feet all day, it's exhausting. Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
Sure.
need compression socks and I'm like treating myself as if I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And it's like even when you're not working, I mean, like you said, you're still getting messages on social media platforms, people wanting to schedule. So it's like, I could see it. It could become overwhelming. So it
Oh,
is nice to take that time and be like, okay, Julia, relaxing,
mhm.
get
Absolutely.
yourself together.
Yeah. Like, I had a
And
client.
there,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, there are other
Go
things as a
ahead.
business owner that you need to do. So,
Yeah.
like, if
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
cancels, you could take care of some of those things.
Absolutely.
Like,
I
yeah.
think of it as like a blessing in disguise. I'm just like, okay, and that's why I started to block off 1 day a week and only work 4 days a week, because I think it's important to have office time and just sit there and respond to
Hmm.
emails, because I don't want to be responding to emails on a Saturday. Like, I went to New York this weekend. I don't want to be doing that when I'm with my friends or,
Yeah.
if,
Right.
yeah. So, and there are people that are very, very respectful of it. And then there are people that are very, very disrespectful of it. And that's how I knew how to kind of weed my clients out and figure
Yeah.
it out, who respected me and who didn't.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody is like demanding you to respond on a Saturday night about an
Yeah.
appointment request, like,
No.
no, life is too short to deal with that.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, no, absolutely. Seriously. When I'm already in the salon all the time, and it's not like I don't post on social media, you can message me during these times, but these times, please don't. And then
Yeah.
next, I'm like, why am I getting a text at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night? It doesn't bother me as much anymore. I've definitely learned to kind of channel it, because before I
Good.
was like, why could someone be so rude and disrespectful?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, all right, I'm like, they just don't have social cues.
Yeah.
And like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll answer them on Monday.
Yeah.
So how was the new space?
I love it. I'm so happy. It took me literally a year to get. Like, I toured this spot a year ago. And
Okay.
then,
Wow.
yeah, and then I want to say August of last year, I had to go in front of the board and speak my mind and everything. And one of the board members wasn't there. So then we had to push it back another month because they only meet the last Monday of every month. And I was like, great, another month that I have to push this back. And it actually ended up working out. So I found out that I got approved for the salon, and then started moving things in October 23rd. And then I would say fully opened around like January 17th-ish, like two
Okay.
weeks in January. Yeah. So um, I had a lot of help, but I pretty much designed the place myself. And it's like my favorite thing to do.
So, Julia, what sets your salon apart from others in the area? What unique services or experience do you offer to your clients?
So when I was living in Nashville, I was trained under a very, very, very large master extension specialist, and still credit her to this day because she's one of my good friends, and she already opened up her own salon, and she's worked under so many celebrities. Like, she's phenomenal. Um, and she taught me how to do extensions, like hand tied, sew in, wefts. Um, And I always thought extensions were like really crappy tape-ins that you would just see like a block
Yep.
or a shelf here and then a shelf and then just the rest of the hair, or like it was just, I never knew how to do them. And then now it's become a lot more popular, but I learned a lot about how to manage putting in hair extensions with people that have hair loss, whether it's alopecia areata, like, learning how to get someone's hair back into hair health. I just had a client come in recently and she'd come to me for probably about a year. And the first time she came in, her hair was super fine. And we kind of tried to get her back on this hair health journey of, okay, like, how do we get the density back? How do we get her length back that is not growing anymore? So my first thing is always, make sure you go talk to your doctor just in case you have a thyroid problem or like a deficiency in vitamin or whatever, because I don't want to, God forbid, put extensions in someone's hair and then think that's the solution.
Right.
So, but I'm also not a doctor, so I can't tell somebody what they can and cannot do, like in the medical field. So I basically I had this girl come in, and once she was kind of cleared and everything was good, and she was just not using the right products, didn't have a shower filter, was just not taking great care of her hair. We got her on extensions. We did, and there are certain kinds of extensions for everybody, some for fine hair, some for very thick hair. But we got her on the right kind of extensions. I got her on a really good hair care routine. And then a year later, normally the extension cycle is about a year, a little bit less, because then the hair is ready to be done and get a new set of extensions. But she came in last week to get her extensions removed, and I'm like, your hair is literally down to the middle of your back. Like, it
Wow.
was so long and so thick, and she still had all of these little sprouts of hair coming out from her head that she never had before because she was on the right hair care routine and she was taking care of her extensions. And that's the goal. Nobody wants to have extensions. People want to use those as like, kind of a safe space and a barrier to get to where their hair needs to be. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's great. And I think, being really knowledgeable in that craft has really helped me help others, because, you can be good at blonding, and I love to do hair. Like, I love blonding. I love all that, but it's really important to me to really get somebody's hair in a healthy state. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably what I feel like sets me aside. And also, I don't know, no judgment, but like, I like a big, colorful, funky, different salon. So I think there's a lot to look at when you come in here. And, once you guys come pop in, it's definitely, I want it to be cozy. Like, you're kind of in a home, which is
Yeah.
important. So, like, you can laugh, you can cry, you can, I've had people scream at their exes on the phone. Like, it's just whatever.
It's a safe space.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Oh, that's
Definitely.
awesome.
Thanks.
And I saw too, you guys are offering spray tans now too, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So
Oh, that's awesome.
the salon is, I'm weeding out products that aren't good for the environment. So it took me a while to because I was really, really tight with this one company and I really loved their stuff. But then I realized that it wasn't super good for the environment. It wasn't clean. It wasn't natural. So I wanted to kind of make everything like a super clean, natural, Leaping Bunny certified. That's really important to me. Salon. So I found this spray tan company from Canada, and they have spray tans. Like, when you get a spray tan, Mike, I'm sure you've never gotten a spray tan before, but if you have, I will not judge. But like, and you leave and you just smell disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, this spray tan line will have you leave smelling like nothing. And
Wow.
it's phenomenal. And it's just and it's lasted me like 2 weeks. It's crazy. It's
Wow.
really, really good quality. So yeah, and I mean, even same thing with like, I mean, you don't want to be spraying that on someone's body when it's like all these chemicals are kind of just like popping in the air, and it's all formulated with vitamin A, B, C, D, E, and, jojoba oils, all kinds of stuff to kind of help the body too.
I know you said you've been to Nashville and you learned how to do hair extensions to a pretty high level.
Yes.
So how do you stay updated on the latest trends and techniques in hairdressing?
So education is very, very important to me. And ironically, when I'm being educated on something that I actually like, that's when I'm so zoned in and so focused. I think it's really important to take as many classes as you can. And with social media, TikTok, Instagram, all the things, you really do learn so much, whether it's a small little like 30-second clip of, oh my gosh, like, this is a really good way to foil, or this is a really good way to install the extensions. Maybe I could try this. And
Mhm.
you learn a lot about companies because you see, oh, wow, like this company on TikTok is trending. So let me learn about this company and maybe start selling it in the salon, or maybe start offering it to clients. And again, super, super important to me that everything that I use is as natural as possible, as clean and inclusive as possible for all hair types. And I think that, again, with social media, it's the most important. So, I mean, I'm in bed at 11 o'clock at night, even though I'm not supposed to be working, and I'm scrolling on TikTok. Like, how should I install this girl's extensions?
Yeah.
Or how should I use this product? So it's just like kind of a constant cycle in my head of learning and wanting to learn more. And it's really important to kind of get my girls learning. And you only learn so much when you're in cosmetology school. Like, they teach you the basics, and that's obviously what you need to know. But then you're kind of like left to fend for yourself when you're done cosmetology school and you're like 10-month span. It's almost like, you know, when someone goes into like that accelerated nursing program, that's what happens when you're in cosmetology school. You can't take any days off. You're in there Monday to Friday, Tuesday to Saturday, but like you're only learning the basics. And then you're like, well, I just put in all this effort to learn all this stuff. And now I have to learn more because I still don't know how to do a balayage, or I still don't know how to do this. So um, being
Well, I've
able
been
to,
doing this for 25 years, Julie, and I'm still learning stuff. So,
right? And even my
yeah.
girls are teaching me things too, because they're a
Yeah.
lot more tech savvy than I am. Because I just hired a 19-year-old, and she's, you know, telling me all these things that I'm like, oh, maybe I should try this, or maybe I should do this, or,
Wow.
you know, so can learn from anybody.
Right. So your girls, you have other people that work with you.
I do, yes. So I would love to hire other stylists, but I think what my goal is to kind of have girls that are in cosmetology school work their way up and build their clientele with me, because that way I can kind of teach them the way that I learned, but I can
Mhm.
also learn from them since they're younger than me. I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to be 27. The girl I just hired is 19, and she's 7 years younger than me. So that's a pretty big age gap. But
Sure.
also, I mean, when you get older and when you're in the industry, like, I used to work with a 70-year-old when I was 20, and
Yeah.
she would teach me things, and then I would teach her things. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I have 3 girls now. I have a front desk associate, and I'm looking
Wow.
to hire a few more, but I want to keep it small because big salons can definitely get kind of catty. And
Yeah.
I really want everyone to have as much attention as possible and not feel like they're being churned in and out of the salon,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Oh,
is good.
yeah, that's awesome. That is so cool. That's
It's so fun
awesome.
though. I feel like it's, you know, again, it took a while to get here, but it's also just like it feels supernatural already being in here, even though I've only been here for like a month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. So building a loyal clientele is essential in the salon industry. What strategies have you implemented to attract or retain customers?
So it's really important to enable a cancellation policy, and you can't pick favorites. That's really important. And um, when, but again, when somebody is respectful of my cancellation policy, or when somebody is respectful of my time, then that's how I know they're a loyal client.
Yep.
And I just implemented a loyalty program. So if somebody's coming in and spending a certain amount of money, then they get 20% off on their birthday
Oh,
or their birthday month. You know, if somebody refers a client to me, then they get 10% off, and then their client or their friend gets 10% off. Same thing with my girls. Even, you know, if my girls find me somebody to work with or another person to hire, then they get a little stipend, like stuff like that, which is important.
oh yeah.
And I also feel like Instagram is really important too, and making sure that I let everybody know who I am. And that's why I have my personal Instagram is basically my salon Instagram, because I want everyone to know, okay, this is what you're getting into, like when you're coming here, and you know that you're coming to see, you know, this person who is obsessed with Taylor Swift, but also is like really knowledgeable in their craft. Yeah, just like making sure everyone knows like who they're coming into. And I mean, people, they want to come and see you. I was listening to this podcast, this hair podcast, and they said people are coming in for your craft, but they're also coming in for you. So, like, if you know the amount of times that I've dealt with car issues and I've still showed up to the salon, the amount of times that I mean, and listen, like my clients are incredible. I love them all. Like, I've definitely cried in front of them before, and I've definitely had moments in front of them before, but when you show them that you're also vulnerable, but you also,
Mhm.
you know, can still take care of them. And sometimes when you walk in the door, you just have to, all right, I'm done. I have to like make sure that I'm focusing on my client and I'm not worrying about all of the other crap in, you
Right.
know,
In life, yeah.
life. Exactly. Because like you guys are coming here and you're paying a service and you want to see me, and, you know, they're not just coming in for the service, they want to see me too. So if they're coming in and they see Julia's in a bad mood, then like, you know, I don't want their experience to be lessened because, oh, I have a crack in my windshield, or, you know, I got a flat tire today, or, you know, something else happened, or something else is annoying me, or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
so
That's a
yeah.
big that's a big part of the work life, right? Like, we all have
Oh
things
yeah.
going on every day that may or may not be great. And we have to be able to, you know, buckle down and give it your best.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're on a rock. So like it's just, you know, we're like I'm so lucky. I think about it every day that I can come into my own salon space. And that's why like if my girls want to go on a vacation, you know, I don't give them like a certain amount of time they can only take off. Like I'm like, if you guys, you know, need a little getaway, like have a getaway. Like you guys work so hard.
Yeah.
So as long as you're in here and you're working hard, and then say you're like, hey, I want to take this Saturday off. Okay, absolutely go ahead. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, work is hard for everybody, like regardless of if you're working and you're owning a salon, or regardless if you're, you know, a financial advisor. Like we're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So just like being
Yeah,
kind to other people and being kind to yourself is really important. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like that's a main reason why my clientele and I like get along so well, because I don't treat them as if they're lesser than me too.
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely. What do you like best about what you're doing?
I love making my own schedule. I love that I mean, I'm such a schedule person. And like I said, I'm a planner, but I have to do that on my own timing. And I love knowing that I can come in basically whenever I want. And I mean, you know, when you move in with the boy, your room isn't all pink anymore. It's not all fun pink and Barbie and Taylor Swift. So being able to come in here, this is literally like my own get ready room. It's like my
Oh,
own, you know, spot. And you know, even just like coming here to me is relaxing. And
yeah.
I can just come in here and it's my office. So I just, you know, I light a little candle, I listen to some music, I just kind of, I very much vibe with the fact that like this is my own spot. And I had a client come in recently and she was like, I feel like I walked into Julia's room as a kid, but just amplified as a salon space. So that's fun. But
Oh,
That's
also,
great.
on that note, I love seeing people that I've known forever come into the salon and reconnecting with people that I haven't seen in forever, coming in and meeting new people and making people feel beautiful. And I don't want people to come in and feel like that I need to change them,
yeah.
but just, you know, accentuate their features and make them feel good about themselves. Like that's just, and have them come into my space and know that they're safe and know that they're leaving feeling hopefully better than they did when they walked in.
Oh,
That's important.
Great.
absolutely.
Thanks.
All right. So, can you share any memorable success stories or challenges you faced while running your own salon? Yeah.
So back in December of 21, I had my business for about a year. Um, that was a year where I had already been dealing with some really difficult hardships, and I was still trying to figure out how to manage my salon, figure out I had an assistant at the time who I still adore and, you know, wish the best for her. But it just like didn't work out.
Hmm.
And we were taking clients in the salon and whatever, and she was practicing on models for extensions and all that. And I had a girl come in one time and she had come in with like super fried off hair. Not by me, by somebody else. I don't know if she did it herself, whatever. And she wanted us to put her extensions in. And we had held her extensions like when she came in for her consultation. And when she came in for her consultation, she didn't have this fried off hair. So very, very damaged. Like imagine like literally just like pieces, just I could just pull the hair out of it. It was not good. Um, she I told her, I was like, I'm so sorry, but I can't put these extensions in your hair. This is just not going to work. Because it's just going to fall right out and your hair is going to fall right out.
Yep.
And I gave her extensions back and she was like, well, I'm just going to go somewhere else. I'm like, that's okay. I was like, here are your extensions. Have a good day. And then I get a call an hour later and she's yelling at me saying I gave her back the wrong extensions. And I'm like, I have everyone labeled. Like, I'm pretty strategic with everything that I have. So she comes running back in the salon and I'm like washing hair and she's like in my face saying, you gave me back the wrong extensions, a lot of things that I shouldn't say on, on air.
Sure.
Like, of course. And then she goes out in the waiting room, like at my old salon, and just kind of starts like banging her feet, calling her mom, freaking out. She was younger. So I went outside, I brought her brand new extensions that I had for backstock. And I was like, here, if you want these, you can take these. I can't have you behaving like this in the salon. And she, whatever, like, again, I wish her well. I don't wish her any ill will, but I was like, you can't behave like this here. Like, here are brand new extensions. I can't have you here, like, while clients or whatever. And this other salon space in my building was having, a 1 year opening or whatever. I don't know. There was like a grand opening or like a 1 year in the business, whatever. So then she told me she called the police on me. And I was like, okay.
Oh,
So I was really scared. And I was like, well, my business is over. I'm like, I'm done. And then, yeah, I was like, okay. And then the police showed up and like, I don't even know why we're here.
yeah.
I never heard from the girl again. But I was texting my salon friends in Nashville. I'm like, is this normal? And they're like, oh, now you're officially in the industry because you had the police call on you by a crazy client. And I was like, great. I'm like, that's awesome. So I didn't realize that was a normal thing. But yeah, that apparently is a normal thing to have the police called on you by a crazy client at least once.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, and that really humbled me. And I was like, oh, I'm like, okay, and running your own business is not easy. Like, I am the top dog up there. So I deal with all of the stuff.
Yeah.
So
Right.
even, and I'm really difficult at handling things with myself. It's hard for me to stand up for myself. But if any of that happened to one of my girls, I'd be like, all right, let's ride at dawn. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, no. But yeah, I mean, there's people out there that are really going to treat you crappy and that aren't going to respect you. So you just have to be, aware of that and know what you're getting yourself into when you're running your own business. And everyone thinks that they can go open up their own salon suite right when they graduate school, which by all means, if you want to do that, like, please go ahead. But I deal with things like that. And I'm also literally paying myself less than I'm paying my girls because I have all this overhead.
Yeah.
And I'm still like doing great and I'm still fine.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work. So
And
it's
I
not all
think
it's cracked up to be.
I think you're a remarkable success story, and it's
Aw,
still
thank you.
that hard.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's worth it to me. I
Mhm.
can't imagine myself doing anything else. I really can't.
So, what advice would you give aspiring salon owners or hairstylists looking to establish themselves in the industry?
Get an accountant immediately and know when to put money aside for taxes. That is the number one thing, because when you see, especially when you're running your own business, when you see this money flowing in, that's not all yours. That's money that goes to the salon and that's money that goes towards the government. And you have to pay it and it sucks, but it's like when that money, comes in, you have to realize that that's not all yours.
Right.
So number one thing is get that established, get an accountant and know what you're doing with that. Number two, like, don't be afraid to reach out to other salon owners. And even if you just want to be a stylist, like, same thing, don't be afraid to reach out to anybody. Like, I had a girl come in one time and she was like, not interested in working for me, but she wanted to shadow me. And I was like, absolutely, come on in, like, see what we have going. And it was great. And it was so nice. And she was just wanted to kind of pick my brain. And I think that's awesome when somebody does that. And
Yeah.
I actually was in New York this weekend and I was in Zara, and I saw this girl and she's a really famous hair TikToker, like super like hairstylist, owns her own business. And I literally panicked when I saw her. I was like, I just froze. I was like, I don't know what to do. And I ended up bumping into her and she was just the sweetest person. Like, she was just so kind. And I barely spoke any words to her. It was just like a, quick little like run in, but she was so kind and so genuine. And, you just need to make yourself as a salon owner be open. So it's important to me, like when I reach out to somebody like me or like someone like her, that they're responsive. And I mean, it gets really hard sometimes even for me, like, cause I have girls reach out to me that I can't get back to because I'm so busy, but still not being afraid to reach out is really important as well. And that's, a PSA to all the people that hear this that are aspiring stylists.
All right, Julia. So what is next?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Like I said, my legs are on fire running around all day, being behind the chair, and it's so much fun. But I would like to kind of cut my hours behind the chair and start educating. I love the products that I use, so I'm kind of in a little cahoots with this company that I use in the salon that I'm gonna hopefully start educating for soon. I've always wanted to go to New York and I've always wanted to live there, but obviously I can't. I love New York City and I've always wanted to work there. I used to do some assisting for stylists and makeup artists. I like to take the train up to New York and I used to do some platform work, which was really great. But yeah, so I want to kind of get back into that, which would be really nice, and kind of start educating more. I think that would be great. And I would hope to hire a few more girls in here as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm getting old. I'm literally 27. And so I'm just like, this is really weird. I'm gonna have to start thinking about other things in life, like personal stuff. So yeah,
What's
I'm
platform work?
platform work is basically like working on a set with hairstylists and makeup artists, and it's basically like working under someone that's doing photo shoots for magazines.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Or
so
like,
cool.
yeah, so I did a little bit of that for a while and that was really cool. But I kind of want to get back into it because I don't want to be behind the chair all day long. I would like to kind of do some other things, just
Yeah.
Yeah.
learn some more.
And
Yeah.
I feel like the learning in any type of cosmetology is just endless. Like there's
Oh, yeah,
always something new. There's always something you don't know.
absolutely. 100%. And
Yep.
that's, again, like I said, I mean, like Mike said, he's still learning. My
Yep.
dad is still learning, same thing. So
Yep.
it's a
No, as
lot.
smart as he
It's
is,
worth
he's done learning. That
Oh,
guy's a
yeah,
genius.
yeah.
What? So, it seemed to me that it would be a good physical and mental break to not be behind the chair all the time. So if you
Oh
could
my
spend
gosh,
some
yeah.
time teaching, that would
Hmm.
be good. Yeah, that
Definitely.
sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, and meeting new people, and even just, if I can just bop around salons in the tri-state area and teach people about certain products and certain ways. And another thing that I've always wanted to do is I want to teach other stylists how to manage being a therapist behind the chair, because we don't have all of the therapist tools and all of the things that therapists actually learn. So somebody will tell me a crazy story in the salon and trauma dump on me, and then I'll go home and I'll hold all of that in my chest because I'm such an empath, and most stylists are empaths. So you just hear it and you're like, wow, that's really heartbreaking, I don't know what to do. So learning, I've learned so much about how to react to things like that, and knowing when to kind of stop the conversation, or knowing when to help, or knowing when they need extra help besides just me. So teaching other stylists how to manage that behind the chair, because we're so much more than just doing hair. Like
Oh,
we're
yeah.
literally a
Right.
therapist too, and it's very, very crazy. But sometimes it's, you learn a lot about people,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. It's like I've learned so much from this interview with you that it's not just, going to cosmetology school and doing hair. Like there's so
Thanks.
much more behind it. Like you even said,
Yeah.
going to like the extensions, the like everything on that line. But then, like you said, even like the therapist, because people do look at you as someone to talk to. Your space, your salon is like so comfortable to people. So I feel like that even is all the more that they're just gonna,
Hmm.
like you said, trauma dump
Oh my
or
gosh, yeah. For
however the case may be. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot about people, and you
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
also learn that, okay, my life, is, you almost learn that, wow, like there are certain things that people are going through, and I'm like, oh wow, like I actually you know, I've humbled myself and learned how grateful I am for the certain
Yeah.
things that I have from the things
Yeah.
that I hear.
Yeah. So Joel, is there anything else you want to talk about that I didn't cover already?
Tax thing is super important. If, you
Okay.
know, when you're running your own business, like you need to make sure it's not all, you know, fun and games, but making sure that don't like I would say if anybody wants to open up a salon suite or if anybody wants to open up their own salon, don't go in over your head. I definitely started really, really small and then ended up kind of coming to this space. So anybody that's in this industry, just know that you can't go from point A to point Z in, you
Right.
know, a year. It definitely takes some time
Okay.
for sure.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
All right.
Good
All right.
advice.
So we know your time is incredibly valuable and we greatly appreciate you spending time with us. For
Mhm.
those watching and listening and want to learn more, where is the best place for them to learn more about Salon J Raine?
So you guys can follow me on Instagram at salonj.raine. And if you have any inquiries or any questions, you guys can email me. I have a link in my bio in my Instagram, and you can just click on it and you'll find everything there, whether, you know, it's email, booking sites, all of those things. Of course. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thanks for speaking with us. This was
Of course.
great.
No problem. I'm so happy that I got to do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys. You're the best.
For more information on Yardley Wealth Management or Yardley Estate Planning, you could visit our website at yardleywealth.net and yardleyestate.net. You can also follow us on socials at Yardley Wealth Management. This podcast has been produced by Madison Demora and Mike Gary with technical and artistic help from Poe Production.